it has been a long time. Are my glasses clean? Oh, my glasses clean. It's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you. Without I don't beat the step two, step two, step two. Freaking baby girl. Alright, I'm filming. You know, there are just some books that come along in your life and completely destroy you. Like, I'm talking about emotionally wreck you, have you sobbing, have you just lost, just at a loss for words, just stuck, just sitting there rotting in a stupor. Those are the kind of books I love. I don't know about you, but I love a book that just devastates me. I don't know if it just makes me feel human. I don't know if I'm a glutton for punishment. But yeah, those are the that's what I like. And I'm hoping you do too. So hey there friends, Shalita here, welcome back. Today's video, I want to talk to you about the books that emotionally destroyed me. And I highly recommend you read them as well if you are also someone who loves to be destroyed, just ripped apart inside. That's what I have for you today. So today we're going to talk about the books that devastated me. So if you would be so kind as to like, comment, and subscribe. Stick around, guys. Stick around for the fun. Feel free to drop your emotionally destroying books in the comments at any point. Let me know what I need to read that will have the stock going up on like Kleenex and all those like tissue brands. You know, let's help them out, right? Make somebody rich, right? So, all right, I could stand here rambling all day, or I could just get into it. So I figured I'd start with the fantasy books, and then we'll get into the romance, and then I have one thriller slash, oh my god, y'all, I don't know if it's allergies, I don't know what, but my eyes are starting to bother me. Yeah, and this, y'all know, if you've been here a while, you know I'm a freaking crybaby. I probably cry at like 80% of the books I read, but these are the ones that really affected me the most. These are the ones that I definitely cried while reading the most, or that really just left me in a hangover, you know, an emotional book hangover. The first book on the damaging Richter scale is, y'all had to look at it, Heart of the Sun Warrior by Sue Lynn Tan. So this is a part of a duology. It is a part of the Celestial Kingdom duology. And this is, did I ever say it's book number 2? I don't know if I did. This is book, what was that noise? Y'all, I closed the window because the neighborhood kids are like out. You know, it's a beautiful day, and I closed the window. But I feel like I heard them, or maybe it was my child. Cherish, was that you? Who made that noise? Yeah, I'm losing it. All right. So this is book number 2 in that duology. And so this story follows our main character, Xingyan, and Xingyan is an immortal. Her mom is her mom is a goddess. Her mom is an immortal. And her mother, unbeknownst to her mother is basically imprisoned, like in this, you know, imprisoned on the moon. She's been thinking, hey, you know, me, mom, and, you know, mom's homie have been living here on the moon, you know, all by ourselves because mom wants it that way. But actually her mother had been exiled there for something that her mom was accused of. But Jingyan, you know, like I said, you know, she had no idea, you know, she thought just, hey, you know, my mom's a goddess. We live in the good life all by ourselves. Some events transpire. Jingyan is forced to flee her home. And we go on this quest with her where she's basically kind of going undercover. She's training to be a soldier, doing all these things to try to get herself back to her mom and, you know, eventually trying to win her mom's freedom. It's fantasy, high fantasy. So lots of action. What really damaged me, and right before I started filming I was like, let me like flip through here, because I knew that I had literally, you know, like documented when it happened. So Miss Tan, if you're out there, I just want you to know that on page 256, the very end of chapter 22, you literally destroyed my world that day. I have a little note here, right here, guys. You know, Exhibit A. Can you see that? Is that focusing? Is that Exhibit A? So you know I ain't lying. Sue. Sue. What the absolute fuck? I read it twice to make sure I wasn't losing my mind. I am bawling. Y'all, I was. I was crying. Oh my God, up until that point, I think this was the first book that really, maybe not the first, but it's the first book in a very long time that really had me just down bad. Like this, it was a death. I mean, I guess that's a spoiler, but I ain't tell you who, so it's not really a spoiler. It's a fantasy. People gonna die, okay? It's not really a spoiler, but somebody died. Somebody important.
But I ain't one to gossip, so if anyone asks you, you ain't heard it from me. No, you haven't.
And it just ripped my heart out. I'm almost convinced in fantasy that authors literally are like, we gotta find a character to make people fall in love with so we can kill them and destroy our readers. Like, they want it to be someone who's important but not important to the end line. You know what I'm saying? Like, they want to make them important enough in our eyes, but ultimately they have no intention of allowing this character to live. Like, they're not getting their happily ever after. They're not a part of the main plot, but we don't know that. We don't know that as we fall in love with these characters, right? So, yeah, cannon fodder. These authors are creating beautiful cannon fodder, and I don't particularly appreciate it. I mean, I'm not gonna stop reading.
Savannah, slow down.
I'm not gonna stop reading. Don't get me wrong. You know, R.I.P. to them characters and all, but I'm just saying, Sue. Sue my dog. Sue my girl. What? Why? So, yes, if you are into fantasy that wrecks you, pick up this duology. For sure. Excellent. The next book that destroyed me is actually a book by an indie author. And this is Book of Sin by H.M. Wolf. So this is actually the this is the arc. This is the arc, and I mean, it's beautiful artwork in here too. But yeah, this is another one that wrecked me. Okay, so this story follows Hyacinth, or Sin for short. It follows her and her group of friends. So there was a major war years prior to the start of this story. We kind of get a little glimpse of it in the prologue, I do believe. And her and her friends, they're all orphans at this orphanage for fae, for magically gifted fae. And Hyacinth is aware to some extent that she has some abilities, but she doesn't realize her full potential, or she doesn't realize the depth of her powers. So there's an attack at the orphanage, and there's an ancient prophecy, right, about a child with magical abilities, and her and her friends set off on this adventure to find this magical child, but also to hide her, because she has powers that their enemies, would love to, they'd love to get a hold of her and extract those powers, or manipulate her in some way, and use her in some way. So what is so, what I love about this book, and also what destroyed me, I love the found family aspect in this. And yeah, this, once again, they make you love people and then they take them away from you. So it isn't really a spoiler, it's a fantasy, people gonna die, okay? But it did, destroyed me. I'm talking about snotting. I'm talking about Viola Davis snotting on myself. Just so good. And the writing in this book is just superb. It's excellent. This is a debut novel. The second book in the series is coming out, I want to say in June. I don't know for sure. I will put the date up here somewhere. But yes, a stunningly heartbreaking book, fantasy novel. You already know, when found family is involved, you gonna get your heart broken. and H.M. Wolf, yes, honey, you definitely you broke me, you wrecked me with this one, and I cannot wait for book 2 for me to be completely and utterly destroyed all over again. Hopefully not too bad. This is a romantasy, so hopefully we get some more of the love in there. Not so much like, girl, don't look. Do not touch. Do not touch Landers. Okay, that's our main male character. Do not touch Landers. Okay, clearly Sin isn't going anywhere. She's the main character, but don't touch her either. Okay, stop breaking her heart. Stop taking things from her. Stop abusing her. Really excellent one. The next book that I want to talk about is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. So this book, maybe this book didn't necessarily make me cry a lot, but it emotionally devastated me nonetheless. My heart just broke for this couple. My heart especially broke for Magnolia, and this book is just so good. It's so good, and let me tell you just how good this book is. Okay, first of all, it left me in a book hangover. Like, I was stuck after reading this book. You hear me? Like Alexa, play Where Do We Go From Here by Deborah Cox. Like I just didn't know what else to do. Like, could not move. I was just stuck, lost, dumbfounded, in a stupor after reading this book. That was back in January. So I read it back in January, right? I read the physical back in January. You can see annotated, whole 9 yards, right? So the beginning of this month, I was like, man, like, I need something to listen to in the car. So I wanted an audiobook to listen to in the car, but I didn't want to start something new, right? So I had previously downloaded the audiobook for this on Audible and had just never listened to it. I wanted to read it physically. So I was like, well, I'll just listen to that. Y'all was just supposed to listen to it in the car, right? It was just supposed to be something to get me from, A to Z, picking up, dropping off the kid to school. But no, I ended up listening to it in the house while, doing chores. And then it was, well, let me just sit down and listen to it. And before I knew it, I was just sitting down listening to it. I wasn't getting anything done. I was just listening to it because it was so It was so good. It was so immersive. The reason this is a gut-wrenching book is just listening to the pain and the heartache that this young woman experienced. And I sound like an old person, right? But you have this couple and they're in their early 20s, BJ and Magnolia. But they have, I mean, they're childhood sweethearts. You know, they had those, you know, cute little schoolyard feelings for each other, you know, when they were, you know, elementary age. And then when they were in high school, they were a couple. And they grew up together. And there's even a part in the book where Magnolia, you know, this is from her POV, and she's saying, hey, everything that's ever happened to me in my life, he's been a part of it. You know, the good, the bad, you know, everything magical, everything painful, everything that has happened to me, he's been a part of it. And I hate him for it, you know, because their lives are so intertwined. It's hard to know where he ends and she begins. And this is, don't get it twisted, this is definitely not a love story that I want to see emulated with my daughter. This is they have a very codependent, toxic, enabling type relationship. They do vindictive things to get back at each other. And, you know, even though they're not a couple for the vast majority of this book, they are so involved with each other all the same. But it's just so heartbreaking because you get that these two love each other, but they go about showing it in the wrong way. When you hear their narration, especially from Magnolia's point of view, it's like you're reading her diary. It's like you are her priest and you're in a confessional booth and she's just laying her heart bare. She's just laying it all out there for you. And her emotions are so raw. She's so truthful with it. She's not hiding anything from us, you know. And it's just so, it's beautiful and painful. Probably a lot of the things and the issues that Magnolia has probably has to do with her relationship with her parents. She does not have a very good relationship with them. They're shit parents. And it's probably another reason why she has accepted so many of the things that she has from BJ, because of her relationship with her dad. You know how it is, you know, girls and their dads, you know, the kind of man that a woman chooses tends to be influenced a lot with her relationship with her father. Cautionary tale about young love. This is two people who fell in love way too young and did not have the coping skills, did not have those interpersonal skills to be in such a relationship. Magnolia didn't get a good example, you know, from her parents on what a relationship should look like. It's a heartbreaking story about two young people who probably shouldn't be together, but it's a series, like a 6-7 book series, so eventually they're probably gonna end up together. But yeah, just I really enjoyed it. It was really painful. So the next book, Before I Let Go, by none other than Miss Kennedy Ryan. This book did make me cry. This book is so magnificent, so beautifully painful. This is a, you know, second chance romance. This is a story about, you know, a married couple who, they're divorced at the start of the book, but they went through such tremendous loss. It was one hit after the other, you know. It was like the universe was like, oh, that didn't destroy you the first time around. Oh, y'all still walking. Oh, you're gonna be okay? Let me just dump some more shit on you, you know. Let's see what else you can take. I mean, they just got dumped on left and right. The devastating loss, you know, one after the other that they experienced was just too much for their marriage. It was too much for them, and it's ultimately what led to their divorce. So in this story, we are seeing the aftermath of it. They're trying to raise kids together. They're trying to run a business together, and for the most part, they are pleasant towards each other, but that hurt, that pain, that animosity, it's still, fresh. It's been 2 years, but it's still just there at the surface. And your heart just breaks because you know that they love each other, and you want to root for them, but you also understand, like, man, like, what they went through, like, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. So we get flashbacks, and we get discussions about what led up to the divorce. This book deals heavily with grief and loss and depression, and I think Kennedy Ryan did such an excellent job of showing what that looks like for someone being in the throes of grief, and then even as a parent, going through that depression. And my heart just broke for both of them, but especially Yasmin, because as a mom, I can identify with that. At one point she's like, hey, it took everything in me to get up out of that bed, on some days. Like, that, it was too much. Like, the grief was so much. It took everything in me to get out of bed. There were days that I didn't want to be here, understand that. And, like, she's like, hey, the only reason that I'm still here is those kids. If it hadn't been them kids, I probably wouldn't still be here. And for her to reach that point that she could finally admit that to him, and and verbalize that out loud, you see what a great deal of courage that took for her to admit that. Just such a good book. The power of grief and loss, and what that can do not only to an individual, but what that can do to a family unit. And I'm tearing up talking about the book right now. It's just a beautifully painful book, but just the way that she wrote this book and wrote these characters, they feel so real, they feel so human. You feel that pain, like, you feel that loss. Their loss is your loss when you're reading this. Their pain is your pain. She just writes it in such a way that you can relate to it. This was a reread for me this year. I reread it this year, and my God, this woman just knows how to punch you right in the freaking gut. All right. The next book is The Air He Breathes by Brittany Cherry. Okay, so this one definitely, this is another snot face inducer right here. So this book follows our main characters, Tristan and Elizabeth. I don't know what to classify this as far as tropes. This is just a very heartbreaking romance. And another one that deals with grief and loss. My heart broke for both of them, but it definitely broke exceptionally more for Tristan. And I think it's because I could kind of relate to his situation. I could relate to his loss a lot more than I could relate to her loss. Don't get me wrong, my heart broke for her, but I think I cried the most hearing his story, watching his flashbacks, than I did with hers. And like I said, just because I felt like I could relate on some level to his. And I won't talk about either their loss, but just know that, jeez Louise, it was devastating. Okay, you have these two characters who have both experienced such devastating loss, and they have, they're basically out there alone. They have family, they have friends, but nobody's gone through what they've gone through, right? Nobody understands what they're dealing with. And so they're both alone in their grief, alone in that loss, until they find each other. Even after like finding each other, Tristan does everything he can to keep her at arm's length. He's like, he doesn't want to be happy. He he doesn't feel he deserves it. A lot of his grief is tied in with guilt. It's heartbreaking. Okay. But yeah, they find each other. They do everything, or he does everything to keep them at a distance. So they're both struggling to cope with what they've lost. And then they find each other and they use each other to cope, and not in the most healthy way, but you can't tell people how to cope, right? You can't tell people how to grieve. But yeah, just heartbreaking loss, and just watching these characters go through it. Just yeah, good book. So yes, this book right here devastated me. Witnessing the pain this woman endured. Let me preface this by saying that this book deals with domestic violence. It depicts domestic violence. It is graphic in its description, not in a crass way, not in a perverse way, but in a very much in your face way of saying, this is real, this is what people go through. She's not sugarcoating it, okay? This isn't a sweet little Lifetime, put a little extra rouge on for a bruise. This is heavy. This is raw. This is real. Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan. And it's so wild that you could have this juxtaposition, this violence that is being committed to this woman, but then you have a beautiful love story in the end, or kind of on the intertwined in here too. This book follows our main character Iris, and then our good guy August. Okay, as this story begins, Iris is in she's in a relationship with this guy named Caleb. Caleb and August are both, they're college athletes. They're college basketball players, right? Both of them are destined for great things. And Iris and Caleb have, they're college sweethearts. They've been together forever. And Iris has these dreams, these aspirations, these goals to become a sports agent. Things transpire in her relationship with Caleb, and that doesn't come to fruition for her. At one point, Iris and August share this moment, and it's fleeting, but it leaves a lasting impression on them both. So it's almost, you almost feel like it's, I guess some people might say it's insta love, but I dug it. The way that the abuse starts, it didn't start out that way, right? But then the manipulation and just the way that the violence against her escalates, and the things that he does to manipulate her, to keep her under heel. It's scary, it's disgusting, it's devastating to watch and witness, and it's hard. I'm not gonna lie, it is hard to read it, but I feel like everybody needs to read this, because maybe you haven't experienced domestic violence, but I guarantee you know somebody, what is it, that's like 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. I guarantee you there's somebody in your life that you know who has experienced it, who has went through it in some way, shape, or fashion. It just sucks the wind out of you to read it, and you're reading this and you're like, this is a work of fiction, but somebody out there has gone through this. Somebody is going through this, and not just somebody's people are going through this, and it just hurts to know. It hurts and it angers you to know that there are people out there who have the audacity to hurt another human being in this way. And it just makes you, it just made me, I'm like bawling reading this, because I'm like, this is a fictional character, but I want to protect her so bad. Like, I want to protect her so bad. I want to jump in this book and like, I want to, that man, like, that man, like, this is my sister, bruh. Like, and it was just devastating to watch and read this. But as horrific as these acts were, it's like you owe it to her to keep going, to keep reading. Not only that, because you're like, hey, this, like, it's gotta get better for her. Like, I can't close the book on this. I can't close the book on this woman being, assaulted. I gotta keep reading, because I gotta hope that there is a happy ending for her. And I know that that's not always the case for people in these types of relationships and these situations. But damn it, reading this book, I was like, all right, you feel like you gotta keep going, because baby, it's gotta get better for her, And it did. In August was, he never gave up. But yeah, this one was just, I cried. It was draining. The wild thing is that after reading it, I felt like I wanted to read it again. If you're looking for a good cry, like I said, it does have a happy ending at the end. Look, all these books will emotionally drain you and emotionally wreck you, but there are beautiful moments in them. So yes, I promise you'll be able to breathe out at least one nostril at some point. I feel like I should have did like a check-in at some point. I've just been like running my mouth. Have y'all read any of these? I probably should, at this point, probably just wait until I get through all of it, ask that. The final book. And when I tell y'all this book wrecked me, baby, I ain't lying. This book, along the lines similarly to Long Shot, this book deals with some heavy themes. I don't own it physically. I read this, I listened to the audio of this actually, and it is Saving Noah by, I don't know where I'm gonna put this up at. It's Saving Noah by Lucinda Berry. Trigger warning, this book is about sex abuse. Be cognizant of that and going into this book. So this book this book is about our main character, Noah. He is a 17-year-old, all-American, excellent swimmer, got everything going for him, right? Not only is he on the swim team, but he also coaches little girls swimming classes. One day he confesses to his parents that he sexually assaulted some of his students. And so we follow that story and in the consequences of his actions and what happens to him and to his family, how it affects him, how it affects his family. It doesn't really, I guess, focus so much on the victims, which some folks may have an issue with that. But this story was about him and how his actions affected him and how they affected his family. This was a very hard book to read. Like I said, I cried so much. I cried. It was a very difficult book to read when you hear him describe what he did. I was outraged by him. I was disgusted by his actions. But there are times in that book when as a mom, that's why I was so torn, because, you know, I have a son, I have a daughter. So the girl mom in me was disgusted by what he did. But then the boy mom in me, I was upset with his mom, but then I also empathized with her. His mother does a lot of, she was in denial a lot in this book. Denial, you know, minimizing, you know, it was almost like she was going through the stages of grief, you know, being in denial and bargaining and all this stuff. You know, you just wanted to like shake her and like, look, like wake up and look what look what your son did. Like, no, this is not just, you can't just minimize what he did. But then my heart also broke for her, because I'm a mom. I'm a mom of a son. First, you know, he is the perpetrator, no doubt. But then at points in the book, he becomes a victim himself. And, you know, I feel for her, you know, watching her son, like, this is a part of her. He is a part of her. You know, she gave birth to this boy. And for her to, like, see her son in pain and knowing that she couldn't do anything about it, like, I empathized with her there. It was just a hard book to read. I think it's also a very important book to read, especially if you are a parent, no matter if you're a parent of boys, girls, non-binary, whatever. I think it is a very important book to read. I think it is a great conversation starter about, you know, especially when you have younger children. It should motivate you to talk about, you know, safe touching and appropriate touching, but also a conversation on consent. This book broke my heart. You know, it broke my heart all the way around. So I highly recommend this. If you want to cry, if you are a parent, this is going to be a hard book for you to read, but I think that it is an excellent book to read. And like I said, probably excellent if you have children in your life, because you know, it's an uncomfortable book, but it talks on, you know, addresses things that we need to be talking about with our children. All right, guys, so that is all that I have for you today. That's all I have for you today. So have you all read any of these? Let me know down in the comments. What did you think? Did they make you cry as well? Let me know down in the comments. Look, this is a safe space. If it made you cry, it's okay. Go ahead and admit it. Okay, we're all here for you. All right, friends, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. And until the next one, guys, bye. Maybe I should put the white ones on top. Why the white ones gotta be on top? Does that help the glare out at all? Oof. Gonna show the good. Better hurry up. I don't know if my booty gonna last long down here. Alright. Ew. God no. They feel dirty. I can't do it. Oh Jesus, get me down here.